So Diablo 4 is actually amazing now. I have kept an eye on Diablo 4 for quite some time, as I've loved the previous entries into the series, D2 and D3, but after somewhat of a shaky launch, I was a bit hesitant to commit any time to the game. Now in 2024, with their Vessel of Hatred's expansion launch, I decided that now would be as good a time as any to get into the game. And honestly, it is such a damn good time. So let's talk about where we are. So of course, the Diablo series is no small niche title. It quite literally put the top-down ARPG genre onto the map. And I've even been told that Path of Exile was created because the developers loved Diablo 2 so much, they couldn't wait around for D3 to be released. So they just went and created a game themselves. I don't know if that's true, but that's pretty damn awesome if it is. Now, Diablo has had a profound effect on the gaming sphere, and it is no small feat. After a kind of terrible reception of their Diablo Immortal mobile game at the 2018 BlizzCon.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Blizzard juxtaposed within a year to then announce Diablo 4 for PC players. However, Diablo 4 apparently was already in production in 2016, so before all of this happened. And Diablo 4 released in 2023, and initially it really wasn't super well received either, mainly the monetization of the game, which there's a lot of things that you can spend your money on. Early reviews of the game said the gameplay, the environment, the atmosphere, the skills were all great. It really seemed like the Diablos of old. But the main problem, and this is something that I had, was the initial cost of being $70. That's no small feat. I mean, what does Blizzard think they are? Ubisoft?
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Well, as time marched on, and somehow the game has dug itself out of an arguably rough release to actually be fairly well reviewed. Not to mention 20 to 50,000 players currently playing right now during the expansion launch on Steam. And those numbers don't even really include any of those who are logged in via the Battle.net launcher. With the recent release of the Vessels of Hatred expansion, I decided now would be as good a time as any to go and check out the game. Now, as mentioned, I am a veteran of the Diablo series, sinking hundreds and hundreds of hours into Diablo 2 and its expansion Lord of Destruction, Blessed Hammer OP. And then, of course, losing even more and more hours into Diablo 3, fighting off Diablo and then Malthael. I actually was really a huge fan of the Crusader here and the Nephilim rifts, which were absolutely awesome. A little disappointed there's no Crusader here in Diablo 4, I'll be honest with you. As a veteran, I wanted to try out Diablo 4, experiencing it for the first time, actually committing some hours into the game to see if it's as truly good or as bad as it is rumored to be. And these are my first impressions. Now, I only have the base game here, and I have a couple of choices as far as characters: Barbarian, Sorcerer, Necromancer, Druid, or Rogue. Now, the Spiritborn is the new class from the Vessels of Hatred expansion that was recently released, so that's locked for me. I don't know why, but the first one that caught my eye is this absolute brick shithouse in the Druid. Oh my god, look at the sheer size of this dude. Does Espen know that Blizzard stole his body for this game? Well, after some hilarious face changing and such, I actually get into gameplay options. I ain't about to stress about the hardcore, so seasonal it is, but the dummy in me didn't read the top button that said that the campaign is already completed, and I started basically after all the events of Diablo 4. 20 minutes later, I realized my error, but in those 20 minutes, I got like 10 levels already. It was actually moving pretty quick. So back in with the original story, we set out with my starting lineman for the Cincinnati Bengals on the back of this weak-ass old horse. Honestly, it just doesn't seem fair. One thing I will say that I like immediately are the cutscenes in the game. Between the opening cinematic and your character included in the cinematics, it really does add a layer of immersion. These are really well done. Well, our horse takes off and then dies, and we go to take a nap in a cave, and we are approached by a Resident Evil doggo and wake up from this nightmare. Holy hell, this is creepy. So now we start out with the gameplay. So of course we have no skills to start up, just auto attacks, which I really can't blame them. That's basically all I would expect. It's the start of an ARPG. You're just going to be whacking away with whatever's on hand. I do like the movement in this game thus far, specifically the dodge dash, although the animation for my mega thick boy is actually kind of hilarious. Like, he just looks like Gragas from League of Legends doing body slam. I also really like the atmosphere. It's got like this dark, dreary kind of like hopelessness to it. It's really the sentiment that I'm getting from this game. Well, we help out this town by going to kill a demon in a chapel, and in the process I level up. and now I have access to all my different starting abilities. I find out later, but the first set of skills are your basic skills, and the second one are your core skills. Your basic skills usually provide you with resource generation, and then the second skills, your core skills, are what you spend those resources on. The talent choices are very streamlined, and I won't say overly complex, but in the time that I did get to play, it does offer some mix and match kind of playstyle, such as my werebear form, and even if I wanted to eventually add in the OG druid ability in Hurricane, I can do that. Anyway, we mash our way through most of this dungeon and get to the bottom to fight Exfall the Scarred Baron, which this really does introduce some fairly interesting mechanics such as AoEs, combos, and certain percentage effects. Like, as he gets lower below a certain threshold, 75, 50, and 25, he drops health potions and then does some new mechanic or does something a little bit different. It's awesome for visual goal setting. Like, I know how hard and how much I need to push to be able to get to those health potions so that I can heal up. Pretty cool. Well, after about 5 minutes of attrition, because I didn't get my resource spender, we win and we get back to town. The story goes on as you were hailed as a hero, and then you get drugged by the villagers for your trouble, and then carted off into the barn. And again, I will say that the spectacles in this game and the story elements are pretty damn good. Also, just never drink random fluids poured in a dark tavern. You're just asking for it. The atmosphere really does have almost like a horror-like affect to it. It's really, really cool. Well, while we're unconscious, we get force-fed some blood chunks. It corrupts us, and now we are connected to a powerful demon. Well, the crazy priest comes in and rescues us, and we get another cutscene where we see Lilith. She convinces a whole town to turn on this priest who is leading a sermon, and it is absolutely terrifying. Holy crap. Well, we get a bit more story, meeting up with Lorath and discovering where we need to go and hunt Lilith, and then the main game is opened up. First and foremost, I must say that this map is huge. I kind of understand why the game has to be a live service game. That was one of the initial complaints, like why can't we just have single player offline? There is so much space out here to explore, and they have different missions, side quests, events, and even like a timer for a world boss. It really does have a lot of content, and it is very much all self-guided. For example, the primary campaign quest you can follow in any particular order. They all have to get done to progress the campaign, so I spent about an hour just running around on my horse doing side quests and exploring. That was a lot of fun for me. The mounts here are actually something I really well enjoyed. I mean, I don't move super duper fast because my guy weighs about half the pounds of a fully loaded semi, but it is nice to have for quick travel, especially as you get it right from the start of the game. Like, bam, right, you do the main campaign and this is the first thing that you get. After doing some of these shenanigans out in the open world, I came across a challenge that I actually could not beat. So it seems that this game there are randomly spawned dungeons that you can just simply explore into. Like, they have their own objectives and their own boss, which I'm truly appreciating the player's choice here. It has nothing to do with the main campaign, and it is something that you can simply just run off and do on your own, which is absolutely beautiful. Well, I crashed through most of this place with my overpowered pulverizes, and seriously, these things are nearly one-shotting these groups of enemies. It's just a huge smack and everything is dead. Oh, it feels so good. I slay most of these mobs and actually come across an event inside this dungeon itself, which I thought was actually very interesting, where we have to defend a group of adventurers. And there's also masteries for these particular events. You earn an achievement if you do the bonus objective, which adds an extra layer of skill. Like you can try hard here and earn something that doesn't necessarily change your power level, but it's kind of like a good high five, pseudo slap on the back, as it were. Well, I bash through most of these guys, and I get to the very end of the dungeon, and I fight the Den Mother, and she absolutely hands me my ass.
I'm in danger!
I got my clock cleaned by this damn dog. Holy hell. I tried a few times revamping my skills a little bit more back and forth, trying to get more defensives and heals, but it's just not enough. I am so weak that I'm not able to put it out enough damage before this thing kills me. I try a few more times and it doesn't happen. I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I had to teleport out. I gave up, man. Well, I got some more levels under my belt, and then I followed up with something more my speed, or something that was going to raise my spirits, not simply destroy them. I will say that I have done all the questing and the exploration getting these levels, and one thing that I do enjoy is the scaling difficulty. That's pretty cool. I like the idea of personal choice of the adventure. You get to go where you want to go. Regardless of where you go, the challenge is still going to be there. The mobs are going to be scaled up to whatever level you are. For example, I follow up with this quest and I'm fighting the Outlaw sharpshooter who offers a ton of new mechanics such as traps, AoE pulls, and even ranged explosion bullet hells. And after some careful dodging and ducking, I kill it and save this guy's brother. It's awesome that that is still going to be as difficult even if I was 20 levels higher, you know? And an extra layer of immersion is that even these side quests are voice acted. I don't think I can understate how great that is. I really like that level of immersion, and it usually doesn't take too much to really add that extra depth into the game, you know? But this doesn't even compare to the moment that I knew that I was really going to like Diablo 4. The one reason that I was going to really enjoy the game. As I was working my way to the quest, The Knight and the Magpie, I stopped by this larder to clear it out. Now, there's nothing special about the larder. Simply just went in there and threw bare hands on all these guys, causing all sorts of havoc, purging the cellar. After I finish, I open up the chest, and there it is. My first legendary item, and it's a Shockwave Effigy Totem. My Pulverize now echoes out away from me with a massive ground slam carrying the critical damage and everything in front of me. Oh man, it's game on. This was the moment that I had a flood of endorphins again of getting a legendary item, and not just like one of those ones of like, oh, it's got more stats. It actually augments my skills to have greater effects too. Oh, that's the stuff, man. Now, I don't know if other players who maybe did not play the Diablo series before, or even ARPGs that are very similar to Diablo 4, would be as excited about this game as I was, but there was something special about having your power levels rise dramatically as you get pieces of gear and items and you just gain those power levels. It's so good. It legitimately gave me goosebumps, absolutely obliterating an entire horde of enemies in a single pulverize. It was really, really good. Now, I'm certain as I get into higher levels, the pieces of gears won't be that beneficial, and I'll probably be playing at lower and lower odds for slightly better gear, but seriously, this just gave me the best feeling, the best initial feeling. Now, the adventure continues with me meeting up with this rogue Nayrel, who is after her mom. Her mom got seduced by Demon Mommy and is now on the hunt to save her life. The voice acting and the cutscenes still continue to impress me, even as I've gotten hours into the game. I never felt like it being repetitive or annoying with it, which was actually very nice. It offers a bit of a break from all the bashing and crashing that we do to have a coherent thought and an explanation of what we're doing. Well, we get down to the bottom of this lake pit thing, and Venard, who is Nayrel's mom, goes crazy and tries to kill her daughter, and me in the process. But I think that she forgot that I have the right to bear arms. And we obliterate all of her demons, which inadvertently kills her, and we get a sad overtone message of, just leave me alone. I believe I've gotten far enough to have a good enough initial impression of Diablo 4. As mentioned, the Diablo series is one of my favorite series from growing up. Diablo 2 and 3 cost me hundreds of hours of gameplay, so going into this game, having basically playing all the predecessors, I was cautiously optimistic, and I can honestly say that I have had my expectations shattered. Diablo 4 in 2024 is damn good fun. Between the environment, the artwork, the combat, and the open world, there's a lot there that is hitting all the right marks. Admittedly, I love the idea of it being more open world with other players. It feels like it's almost like a pseudo MMORPG, as you simply run across a bunch of other players who are just doing their own thing. Now, the talent in the gearing system is still one of my favorite things from this series, and it takes a bit of a unique look at it compared to like D2 and D3, but it doesn't mean that it's bad, actually far from it. It gives you the customization that you would want, but it doesn't seem overwhelming, similar to like Path of Exile, but not like super bare bones where you can only choose a very few select abilities. Literally, you can mix and match as much as you want, and good God, I am a sucker for good customization. Now, my only major quarrel with the game is, of course, the monetization. Now, initially, I fell for Lilith's tricks during the initial release and purchased the game for the $70. And unfortunately, I only played about like an hour of the game. Not to mention that the game has a battle pass and a bunch of other microtransactions. The game can definitely seem a bit greedy. However, unfortunately, these types of games, the monetization is just too common nowadays. And it doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, but honestly, this could be a whole separate video of opinions on that topic. Regardless, Diablo 4, in my opinion, really has done well for the new player experience and is honestly a danger for me, as I can easily sink tons and tons of hours into this game, just farming and bashing with my bare beastie bro. Now, I've been looking at other older games with a bit more of a focused approach, and one such game that has earned a spot of a classic MMORPG for me is Lord of the Rings Online, and it's in its best state ever. Don't believe me? Check this video out here. Otherwise, Stay caffeinated, folks.